It's night in ancient Egypt, 3,000 years ago, and you are afraid. The last lamp has burned down to nothing. The house is black. Outside, something moves, and you honestly don't know if it's an animal, a thief, a ghost, or a demon. And above you, the worst part, the sun is gone. Not set, gone, dead. Sailing somewhere beneath the world, fighting for its life, and there is no guarantee it's coming back. We picture the Egyptian night as rest. It wasn't. Night was the most dangerous, most sacred, most terrifying part of existence, a battle the whole universe had to win before morning. So what did ancient Egyptians actually do once the sun went down? The answer is a story about fear, about love, and about how humans first learned to survive the dark. And again, we're not guessing. The Egyptians documented the night in obsessive detail. On the walls of royal tombs, they painted hour-by-hour maps of what happens after dark, in books with names like the Amduat, literally, that which is in the underworld. On the inside of coffin lids, they drew star charts, tracking which stars rise in which hour, so the dead could still tell the time. They wrote spells to survive the night. They even kept dream books, scrolls explaining what your nightmares meant. One of them, written by the tomb workers of Deir el-Medina, still survives today. Put it all together, and we can reconstruct an Egyptian night almost hour by hour. It begins the moment the sun touches the horizon. To us, sunset is pretty. To them, it was the day's most loaded moment. The sun god Ra sailing down into the land of the dead. And the dark he left behind was not empty. The Egyptians believed the night swarmed with danger, wandering spirits, the restless dead, and demons who hunted in the black. A child crying in the night might be under attack. A nightmare wasn't just a bad dream. It could be a ghost or a god reaching into your sleep. So you did what you could. You lit a small clay lamp, a saucer of oil with a twist of linen for a wick. And that tiny flame was your whole world against the dark. You whispered protective spells over the bed. You hung charms. If you were rich, you slept safe behind thick walls. If you were poor, you climbed to the flat roof for the cool air, out under the open, watching sky. Because up in that sky, the most important event in the universe was happening, every single night. When Ra sank below the horizon, he didn't rest. He boarded his night boat and sailed into the Duat, the underworld, to pass through 12 hours of darkness. And waiting for him, every night, was a monster. Apophis, a serpent of pure chaos, miles long, who wanted to swallow the sun and end the world. So every night, there was a war. Ra and the gods sailing with him fought Apophis in the dark. The blessed dead helped row the boat, and the priests in the temples did their part too. They made wax models of the serpent and burned them, spat on them, hacked them apart to help destroy Apophis from the world of the living. And here's what makes it real. To an Egyptian, sunrise was not automatic. Dawn was a victory. Every morning the sun cleared the horizon. It meant the monster had been beaten again. For now. You went to sleep not truly certain you'd see the light. And when you did, it was a genuine relief. Which brings us to the strangest, most human thing they did in the dark. They tried to decode their dreams. The Egyptians believed dreams were messages, windows into the world of the gods and the dead, warnings about what was coming. So, around 3,000 years ago, the workers of Deir el-Medina kept a dream book, a scroll that lists dream after dream and tells you whether it's good or bad and exactly what it means. And reading it feels uncannily modern. The format never changes. If a man sees himself in a dream doing such and such, good or bad, and then the meaning. Some are sweet, Seeing yourself looking out a window meant your prayer had been heard. Some are oddly specific. Seeing your own face in a mirror was bad news, a sign of a second wife. Drinking warm beer? Bad. Suffering was on its way. And some are just funny and far too rude to read out loud. They sorted hundreds of dreams this way. And if you had a true nightmare, there were spells and rituals to cancel it, to wash the bad omen away before it could come true. 3,000 years before psychology, before "what does my dream mean" typed into a phone at 2 a.m., the Egyptians were already lying awake, trying to figure out what their sleeping mind was telling them. But the night wasn't all fear. It was also when Egyptians most felt alive. This was party time. A wealthy household's banquet ran long into the dark. Musicians, dancers, singers, and a staggering amount of beer and wine. Guests wore garlands and breathed in the scent of blue lotus and perfume. Egyptian love poetry, carefully written down and kept, is full of lovers slipping out to meet in the dark, aching for each other across the night. Night was for music, for drinking, for love. The things you couldn't do under the blazing eye of the noon sun. And then, sleep. The poor slept on reed mats, the comfortable on wooden beds. But almost no one used a soft pillow. Instead, they rested their neck on a curved wooden headrest, and many were carved with the face of Bes, a cheerful, ugly little dwarf god who guarded sleep. He and the hippo goddess Taweret stood watch over the bedroom, over pregnant mothers and sleeping children, chasing nightmares and demons away. Their nightlight was a god by your head. And while the city slept, some Egyptians stayed awake on purpose. In the temples, priests called the Hour Watchers sat through the night and watched the stars. The Egyptians had split the night into 12 hours, and they told those hours by the rising of specific stars, lined up against a partner sitting opposite them, one of the oldest methods of night timekeeping on Earth. They built water clocks too, a bowl that leaked at a steady rate, so you could measure the dark hours even when clouds hid the stars. There were guards walking the silent necropolis. There were bakers starting before dawn. There were embalmers and mourners and priests who had to perform rituals at exact hours of the night. Someone was always awake in Egypt, keeping time, keeping watch, keeping the world turning through the dark. The night shift isn't a modern invention either. They were already standing it 3,000 years ago, counting down the hours by the stars until the sun came home. So strip it all away again. The gods, the serpent, the spells. Look at what's left after the sun goes down. You're a little afraid of the dark. You leave a light on. You check that the door is locked. You lie awake at 3 a.m., certain something is wrong, listening to a house that's only settling. You have a dream that rattles you and spend the morning wondering what it meant. You reach across the bed for someone just to know they're there. And you wait, without quite admitting it, for the relief of morning. The Egyptians did every single one of those things. The fear of the dark, the bad dreams, the worry that gnaws at you when the lights go out. None of it is new. It is one of the oldest things about being human. But they did something with that fear that we've half forgotten. They turned it into a story. The dark isn't empty. The sun is down there, fighting for you. The morning isn't luck. It's a victory, won for you, again, while you slept. Hold on till dawn, and the light always comes back. They were the first people to stare into the night, feel everything you feel, and decide to believe the morning was coming. And every sunrise you have ever woken up to, you inherited that promise from them.